Welcome to Measuring Success Right, the official podcast of the Marriott Student Review, a podcast for students by students, where we connect the leaders of tomorrow with the issues of today.
Welcome to the next episode of the Measuring Success Right podcast. My name is Hunter Hawkins, one of your hosts, and today we are going to be with some unique and cool individuals. I'm with Brad, the captain of BYU Racing, and Kelston, the co-captain of BYU Racing. Guys, it's a pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
It is awesome to be here. Really excited.
Yeah, very excited to be here.
Glad to hear it. Well, first off, I just want to hear a bit about you guys, your personal lives, what you're studying, and how you got into BYU Racing. Brad, you want to start?
Yeah, I'd love to. I am an Arizona boy born in Gilbert, Arizona. I came to BYU right after I graduated in 2014, and I came for a summer term and then left on my mission. Went down to Brazil, and then just came back and started studying mechanical engineering. I was always a car guy, really liked cars growing up, really liked trying to figure out how they worked, but I didn't really ever know the engineering reasoning behind cars. So, so that was kind of a point of insecurity for me, because I came to campus like, oh, I'm the car guy in my friend group, but I actually don't know how cars work, and so I started getting involved in BYU Baja, which is still going, but that was the only racing scene that BYU had at the time. And just stepping from there, trying to pick up things from the upperclassmen, and eventually I took the position for SAE president. SAE is Society of Automotive Engineers, and there was an opening my junior year going into senior year. And so I took that position and have since learned a lot about cars. So nice. I know more than I used to. A lot of YouTube University, as well as there's a lot of cool classes in the mechanical engineering program here that helped me learn a lot of automotive principles. So just deepened that love of automotive as I went throughout my BYU journey. And in my senior year, I suppose I should provide a little bit of context. I'm a PhD student, a second-year PhD student. And so in my senior year, there was a lot of people asking about, hey, where's BYU's formula team? We see the car in the Wilk, in the BYU store. It's displayed for everybody to see. And people would ask me all the time, as my role in SAE president, I was kind of leading a lot of automotive events, car meets. We did some Cars 101 lectures, teach people some basics about engines, about cars, about suspension, things like that. And I would get that question all the time. How do I join the formula team? And after a little while, I graduated, and I worked out my application to go to grad school here at BYU, and I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to be here for a PhD, I think I'm going to start and try to run with Formula E. So that's really when this club started in earnest. Is me and a few juniors. They were juniors at the time; they're now seniors. Started Formula E, and the club's grown from there. I'm sure we'll talk more details, but that's kind of my trajectory so far here at BYU, and I've really loved. It's getting exciting now, really exciting now, but I've loved every step of the way, trying to learn how cars work and how to put a team together. So that's me.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it. I think that's really cool. You're on the ground floor of the BYU Racing, and I'm excited to dive into it, but I had to ask you, since you're the car guy, what's your dream car?
Oh, let's see. I go through phases. So sometimes I'm in American Muscle. I used to really like a 1969 Boss 302 Mustang, and I still really like that car. But I go through like a Japanese domestic market. That's JDM phase. So I really, really like some Nissan Skylines. So it's hard to narrow down. Once you, the longer time you stay as a car guy, you just accumulate your favorite cars over time. So I wouldn't say I have one. I have one in each genre, maybe. So
No, totally. I do enjoy the JDMs. I like the new Supras. There's
Yes.
one on my street, and every time I pass his house, I drive a little slower so I can
just
look
check
at
it out a little bit. Yeah.
So now let's go to Kelston, the co-captain of the BYU Racing. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Kelston McGuire. I'm from Colorado, born and raised. I came to BYU after my mission. I served Spanish speaking in Washington, D.C., and I had the opportunity in high school to do some competition robotics teams before I came to BYU. So I wasn't new to the competition scene and was looking for fun, different competitions to be a part of. So I actually started out undergrad, mechanical engineering, trying the waters in some capstone teams, specifically Mars Rover. And I enjoyed it, but not a lot of, there's a lot more paperwork and paper pushing than I enjoyed, and a lot of just bureaucracy around capstone that I wasn't really feeling. I just wanted to build and innovate and collaborate really rapidly and quickly, and like I did in high school. And so I heard about this Formula E team. I think I probably got one of the first flyers they were putting out in undergraduate classes. I was in my statics class. I remember I got it, and I'd always been a car guy growing up, primarily out of necessity, just because we had old vehicles, and my first vehicle was a 1981 Toyota pickup. So after I rolled it and blew out the tranny, it was either
You gotta fix it.
start walking or learn how to do something with it.
Yeah.
So I rebuilt the tranny and did a little resto on that. And I still have that vehicle, beautiful vehicle. And now, at that time when I heard about Formula E, I thought that's the wave, electric. That's really what I'd like to get into. So I joined. I was one of the suspension guys at first, doing suspension design work. At that time, we had zero funding, and I don't know. We had probably, I was a little bigger. We had 5 to 10 people every meeting, roughly.
I'd say, yep.
And just designing, just trying to figure it out. We'd read from a little race car book and try to learn what little tidbits we could, and that's really mostly me. Just enjoy engineering kind of principles more than anything.
Awesome. I love both of those stories. I can definitely feel and see that you guys both are people of passion that really enjoy this, rather than just, something on the resume or, oh, this will be a cool experience. It's like, no, this is your guys' passion. So you highlighted how BYU Racing came to be, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about that and how it started, because it sounds like it was something in the past, but now it's kind of re-emerging as something bigger than ever.
Yeah, so I've learned a lot about clubs over my time here at BYU, with getting involved and eventually becoming one of the leaders for these clubs. And some of the base lessons is that your club needs some continuity year over year. Students and academics, university academics being what they are, you have a yearly cycle, right? And so a lot of times you see this wave of passion come from a few students and then kind of die out as the club grows and fades. And the thing to really provide a continuity across different years is the faculty advisor. So BYU has had a lot of amazing automotive faculty over the years, and one in particular is Dr. Todd, who about 10 years ago, I'm unsure, I can't recall the exact date of his retirement, but he's retired now. But about 10, 12 years ago, he was heavily kind of the faculty advisor leader of all these automotive endeavors, whether that's Baja, Mini Baja, that's the off-road racing part of BYU Racing and Motorsport, or Formula. They did a Formula team. That's the car that's in the Wilk is one of Dr. Todd's teams that won their competition. And so he was kind of the driver behind a lot of these competitions and would carry knowledge year over year, right? And so students would come and be able to learn from him. And I don't doubt that there were some rock star students as well. I shouldn't downplay that. But starting back up Formula has been a interesting journey because, like Kelston kind of alluded to, is we don't really have that yet. I should say yet, but we don't really have that faculty member that has had a lot of experience, years of experience in these programs. There are faculty members that have done it, the formula program, the Baja program before, but by and large, they're tied up with their research endeavors, their teaching endeavors. So they're generally pretty busy. So starting formula was a lot of like, and still is a lot of like, how do we figure out how to do this on our own? How do we figure out how to read from, some racing books from 40 years ago? How do we learn some vehicle dynamics from scratch? How do we learn how to design a chassis, learn how to design a suspension? And a lot of that is coming. We're fighting for that over time, right? And so that's what I would say. At 12 years ago, BYU has had a large stake in automotive with a lot of emphases, a lot of capstone teams, a lot of club teams that would do these competitions. And then it kind of died out from there. I would assume following the retirement of Dr. Todd is one of the main automotive forces. But just recently, I mentioned my experience as SIE president recently, just seeing a ton of automotive interest. It was my feeling personally that, man, BYU I really love cars, and I bet that there's a lot of people like me on campus that really love cars and want to meet at car meets and things. And that proved to be true, doing a lot of car meets and Cars 101 that I've mentioned before. So these automotive-centric events, and it just was really, really popular with a lot of students. And I would get that comment a lot, like, man, where are all the automotive things? And so we started up Formula, targeting the electric side of it, as we saw that would garner more popularity than an internal combustion engine. Despite I'm turning, but I think I still really, really like the mechanical side of the combustion engine, but I am also getting rapidly obsessed with the electric side of things as well. But anyway, so we started Formula E to try to capture this automotive interest, right? And tons of people want jobs in automotive. They want to go work for Ford, for Toyota, for Tesla, a lot of these and I guess you can't call Tesla up and coming, but electric vehicles are the wave that's coming, right? And so we thought, okay, well, let's start Formula E. And the club has really exploded from there. We started with a group of 3 or 4 of us reading out of a book, hey, how do we understand what the tires are going to do, and how do we actually start a design? How do we move in CAD? We didn't have any money. And so at the start, it's like, what can we do with zero? What stuff for free can we do? Can we pick up some cardboard and cut it into shapes that look roughly like a car, right?
Yeah.
And that's really where it started. And so, there's a lot of details. I'm sure I'm missing a lot, but maybe you could fill in just your thoughts. Or
No, I would agree. It was very gritty, very scrappy. PVC models, 3D prints, a lot of, everyone's just pitching in $5, $10, $15, $20 here.
Yep.
Whatever's free and available, just to show that we mean business.
Yeah. So what is the overall goal for Formula E? And Kelston, if you want to start with answering that one.
I think, so we have multiple overall goals. I think first and foremost, our purpose as a program is to create great leaders and great students. That's not to put too much wordplay, but we see Formula E as a vehicle for driving that purpose, for creating great engineers and great students in general. We found in our own, high school and college careers up till now that classes are great at promoting general knowledge. However, the application of that knowledge and really a lot of the other fine motor skills of working with other people, right? Working in a team, learning how to collaborate, learning how to move walls of pride aside to really come to the best idea possible. that's something that really you can only learn on a team. And so, yes, we're building a car, and absolutely we want to perform well with the car. But I would say at the highest level, we want to have an A-grade team.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. I love that answer. And so now that you have the team, you're starting to build the car, what process are you guys at with that car, and what do you guys hope to accomplish with it?
Okay, I'll start. So year one, it was just trying to survive. We've mentioned this before, but with no budget and 30 students interested, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so to speak, kind of looking at me and some of the other upperclassmen to, okay, we're here. We saw the flyer. Tell us what to do. How do we build a car? And when are we going to go to competition? And when are we going to do all this? And those are tough questions to answer because it was like, yeah, well, it's the blind leading the blind, like we don't quite know ourselves. I was lucky to have some Baja experience. So I went and competed in a very similar competition my senior year in the Baja competition. Things are structured by and large the same. Mm-hmm. It's a different style of racing, right? This is on-track racing rather than off-road, but a lot of the format of the yearly competition is the same. So, yeah, year one was just trying to make things for free, trying to find. We did get a little money from the engineering school. Has a Weedman Center for Leadership, for global leadership, and so we applied for one of their grants, and I think we ended up getting around $5,000 or something. So we used that to buy some batteries, right? To buy a motor. See if we can make that spin, right? Some really first iterations, like Kelston mentioned, we didn't have enough money for a steel chassis for a frame, so we just bought PVC, right? Our members we just went down to Home Depot and bought PVC and painter's tape and taped it together, right? And that was our best guess at how this thing goes, and we're trying to soak in and read. And so now year two, I should say that the end of year one, we culminated with an expo event where we kind of displayed all of our year's work to the engineering school and put on this event. We had some lunch and a lot of industry professionals there, engineers there, and a lot of professors here at the engineering school. And we just told them, hey, critique our design. We want feedback. We want this to be as if it was the design competition. That's what they do at the competition. They kind of go down your design. Hey, why did you choose this material? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? And explain all these decisions. And so we did that at a mock design event, right, as our expo. And after that, we were notified that the mechanical engineering department was willing to sponsor us with some money, with the caveat of, now you got to go to competition, right? Now this is real. It's not just a couple of guys and girls meeting, every twice a week, just having fun. Now it's like, all right, we have to go. Mm-hmm. And so that's beginning of year two, is the current year that we're in. We're planning to go to competition in June. And so now that's buying real steel, buying, actual competitive parts, batteries and wiring and suspension parts, springs, dampers, tires, just everything you can imagine. And I'm sure we're forgetting a ton, but we have, this is pretty timely of us to jump on the podcast right now, because we just last week accomplished our first drive of the car. And so we got it all together, and it's a whole nother podcast episode to talk about what remains to be done. But at least there's four rubber wheels on the ground and rolling on its own, and nothing's broken yet. But we'll see if we can. We'll probably try to get things to break here soon. But that's year two. That's our current year right now, is prepping for competition in June. So that's June 12th through 14th, I believe, and that's in Michigan. So it's held every year against 75 other universities in the U.S., Canada, Mexico. There's a Brazilian team and I think a Russian team that is showing up to that. So fairly widespread competition, but that's what things are like now. So last year and this year, and trying to organize and orchestrate and all pull in the same direction is tough. the club has really grown from the first initial days was about 10, 15 people. And this past fall semester, we probably had an attendance of about 150 to 175 every meeting. Now that dropped off after people figure out life priorities, I don't really want to devote this much time to that. But we probably have still 80 committed and hardworking members. And so trying to get 80 people to learn the right things and pull in the right direction is challenging. But a very, very exciting, a good problem to have, right? And so we're thankful that there's this much popularity. Would you add anything to that?
No, I would second all of that. It's a fun challenge, to say the least. No.
Sounds like it. Congrats on getting the car driving.
Yeah.
I bet that kind of scary at first. So the driver to be like, "Hey, definitely wear a helmet on
Yeah,
this one."
I think the whole team was gingerly setting the car down. It was up on jacks, and so setting it down on its own wheels for the first time was like, is this thing about to just crumple and break? But it didn't. It rolled just fine. The brakes worked just fine. The steering worked fine. So, yeah, it's an exciting time to be a part of the team now that there's something physical. The top comment this last weekend was, wow, it looks so much better than the CAD, the designs. It looks so much better than what we see in the computer. And, it's so real. It's actually real, we're actually doing it. And so, yeah, it's a really exciting time.
I hope it looks better than the PVC and tape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've come a long way. Still have a long way to go, but
I could just imagine you guys just driving it around campus, just going 5 miles an hour, and everyone's like, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're talking about is experienced schools, drive all the time, but we're building our experience from zero, and so that means having a rolling chassis is monument. It's huge for us, and so
yeah, definitely. Well, since this is your guys' first year and there's many other schools, like you said, with a lot more experience, what are your guys' main hopes from going to competition?
Our primary hopes and goals are to gain experience and really just grow that passion. In my experience of going to competition, we have 80 plus members putting in. These last 2 weeks, we've had multiple, probably the majority of the days were up till 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And to give a little context into what Brad's saying, we just in the last 2 weeks took the accumulation of around $40,000, 80 people working nonstop, and all the problems you can imagine plus more to fully weld a chassis, fully assemble suspension components, electronic components, control components, electrical, motors, batteries, and put it on the ground it was quite the feeling of accomplishment. Just holy cow, this is a lot of work.
And at the cost of sleep.
At the cost of sleep.
Yeah.
And angry girlfriends and wives, or lack of. And so really that accomplishment really shines that competition and really just gives us the opportunity to see and set the bar on where are we at and how could we grow and do that much better. That being said, our current goals for this year at competition, we want to pass our technical inspection. So to give a little bit of context, this is primarily a design competition. So we're tasked with building the next best Formula One vehicle. So we have engineers coming and critiquing every aspect of our design. Why did you build it this way? Why did you choose this material? Could you have taken less material? Why? So before it even drives, it goes through this very lengthy process where they analyze everything. Then, if we pass that inspection, which is one of our primary goals, we have driving dynamic events. We're doing things from these big endurance courses to just pure acceleration. And those are the primary, that's 80% of our points. We also have a business competition that we compete in that explains what we bought and why we bought it. So our primary goals are to pass that technical inspection and to get through all those different dynamic events.
I think that's a fine goal. I mean, like you said, you guys are building everything from the ground up and starting a foundation for something that could be much, much larger here at BYU. Could you guys see this becoming something that's a permanent club, an event here at BYU and at the engineering school, or do you think it's something that's just going to be the next few years, the head guys like you guys are gone and it's over?
Well, I'd say that aligns with our long-term vision is when you try to start a program like this, a lot of the faculty are experienced. They've seen these kind of things before. They've seen these packs of passionate students that say, hey, we want to start formula. And we ran into, a lot of no's at the beginning. Well, we can't just throw around money like that willy-nilly for anybody who asks, right? That amount of money or dedication from a faculty member. And so we ran into a lot of no's, and one of the caveats for, all right, we can do this was showing off our effort over the full year of that first initial kind of draft year, right? And them seeing that we were serious about this, and then also with the caveat of you need to make this so that when you, the leaders, leave, it doesn't just fall apart. And so Kelston and I's, and really the whole leadership team, our whole mission, Kelston mentioned this earlier, but our core mission statement is to help each individual grow through the rigor of racing. For those that know racing and for those that don't, racing is a very interesting engineering challenge, because if it's too lightweight, then you're at a disadvantage, if it's too heavyweight, then you're at a disadvantage compared to your competitors, right? And so racing really demands the highest level of engineering that you can extract out of physical material, strap it all together, put it on four wheels, and tell a driver to go around a track. And so that to us is the vehicle by which we help students grow. And so that's our core mission statement as a team. And so building up the program so that we have a experienced faculty member, we have training programs for if you're a freshman and come in, we have a training program for you. We have, steps. If you know nothing about cars, but you've seen F1, you've seen Drive to Survive, or you've seen, a little bit of, you just like cars, or if you don't like cars, we have plenty of majors that aren't engineering focused at all. And you just want to get involved. This club is exactly for that. It's to capitalize on your passion, help you grow, help you get some hands-on skill. And that's what always our core mission will be. And then the kind of yearly, it's all mixed in, right? Because some of it is we really want our engineers to graduate and have awesome jobs, go get awesome jobs at places. And if you were to make an athletic analogy, it's the NFL does a lot of recruiting out of Alabama, right? Because their football team is so good. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the vision for us in an engineering context is, okay, to make our engineers highly valuable, we need to win, right? Because so we've kind of been focusing on the growth of the individual, each team member, but that's also very much a part of that goal is develop this program into an A team so that A level team can produce A level cars over time, and then really just reap the benefits of that, and also spread BYU's message. I think BYU has a lot to offer in terms of how unique we are, and how globally minded we are as a university. I think we have a lot of example that we can set for good competition, for diligence and faithful living, and so I think we have a lot to offer as a school. And so part of that is we need to become competitive. We need to start winning. And so the foundations of that is we got to at least show up, get to competition. We've got to pass the safety inspections, and we've got to have a reliable vehicle. If you don't cross the finish line, then you earn 0 points, And so that's the foundation that we're hoping to build on for years to come. And yes, we definitely want to become a staple of kind of BYU's mainline engineering endeavors. Our rocketry team is amazing. Our super mileage team is amazing. They're winning their competitions, right? We want to be up there with those guys. We want to be bringing BYU's brand and message to a wider stage.
I love that. I think that's super smart of you guys to really focus on building that foundation, focus on the people within the club, but still having goals to be successful and achieve these, competition goals. I've seen other clubs where they start and everyone's just wanting to sprint to the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They work super, super hard, do something, get burnt out, don't achieve their goal, and just crash and burn, and they're done, and it's over.
Right.
And I can definitely see you guys setting the foundation for something much greater that will be able to leverage itself into much more opportunities.
I'd say we've got good advice. I don't know if that was any wisdom that we generated ourselves, but we're good at seeking advice, I would say, is a strong point of our team so far. And that's been the prevailing advice, is listen, go long term, because if you want to compete with schools like Top Dogs or Michigan, Wisconsin, University of Texas at Arlington, and if you want to compete with these guys, you need a good program, right?
Yeah.
The program that trains the students and is what's going to give you the wins, right? And I think you'll find similar comments among sports, business, is getting the right people in the boat and training those people, helping those people grow. That's what nets you the best long-term results. And so, I don't think that's any of our wisdom. I think that's we're just trying to soak in what others have advised.
Totally. Well, I can definitely see that your guys' thriftiness and ingenuity, especially at the beginning, will help you guys later on. Since other schools have been doing this for years, have tons of funding, they have, that leverage on you. But since you guys had to start from humble beginnings, you had to grow those skills and really want it, maybe more than these other people who were just given tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to build these cars. So I think that's really cool.
I'd agree with that.
I also really like how you highlighted that this is an opportunity for you guys to, share BYU's message, to share leadership, Christ-like values to other people who otherwise wouldn't be able to do that. And that kind of transitions me into some of the other questions that we have that are kind of related to the business school, but we ask each person on the podcast because they're related to success and just BYU's overall message. So I kind of wanted to ask Kelston this first one. And the vision of the Marriott School is we aspire to transform the world through Christ-like leadership. How have you implemented that in your work or life, and what are the fruits of it?
I think competition settings are where I personally seen that the most. I've had the opportunity to be a part of a number of different competition teams and fail at a lot of them. That was a big blessing, was to learn to fail. And what I found was the most enjoyable, win or lose, was if we worked together and stuck together towards a plan. And I think that, for me, as a principle, a Christ-like principle, is really, in those competition settings, you have the opportunity to work as a team, to learn to work with these other people, to learn how to communicate yourself, to learn to let go of your ideas, to learn to hold on to ideas, right? These principles of faith, of hope, of action, these are Christ-like principles that I really think come alive, and we have the opportunity to show these to a wider cause, win or lose. I think I know when one of these competition teams I had, it was super cool to go with an idea. We trusted an idea, and it failed. And it failed horribly, and that was all right because we didn't feel bad. We learned a lot from that experience, and we moved forward. And I think that's something that we're trying to implement here at BYU Racing, and something that I try to implement in my own life is, seek that direction and have that unity. That's been my experience. Whenever I've won something, it's when we have an A team and we're unified and all pulled together. We're all just driven, and we have faith, we have hope. There's going to be problems. That's the only constant there is. But we work together through them, and we make crap happen.
Yeah, perfect. I love that. Brad, this next question is really good for you since you're the captain and the leader of this team. The mission of the Marriott School is we develop leaders. What are the attributes of good leaders? What do they look like, and how can we become them?
Well, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer. I'll try my best. I should start with the team. The Formula E team is made up of incredible people. I am very much just the tip of the spear, the hardworking spear. And while I may be on paper, be the captain, I'm very much a follower of some of the leaders that we have on our team that have really taken responsibility. So I would say the attributes that I am most inspired by the people in our club is the attitude of taking on responsibility, of wanting to not cast blame. I don't quite know how to succinctly describe that attribute, but it's like a problem-solving mindset. It's a growth mindset of, okay, how can I help? Okay, what's the next thing? And let's find a solution. And I would ally that very closely with action. Is our leaders, our standout leaders, are all action-oriented, right? They've taught me a lot about a style of leadership that to lead you need to get out in front and do the work, right? You need to be in the lab after hours. You need to get your hands on a wrench and start using it to turn some bolts. And I've seen that in our top leaders. And I would also draw parallels to Christ, right? Is in his time, the kind of main adversary and conflict for him was a lot of the Pharisees and things, which kind of fits into this analogy of a lot of talking, right? A lot of a lot of blaming, a lot of you should do this, you should do it my way, you shouldn't do it any other way. I'm more righteous than you because I said so, not because I did so, but because I said so. And so that's a quality of Christ that I really see in our team, is that there's a lot of action, there's a lot of doing. And I think that's where this club really, really shines, is it gives you a place. It gives you a physical location that you can go and act. You can go and work on a design. You can go and work on some steel. How do I get these steel tubes together? How do I put together, how do I learn about suspension? How do I put together these nuts and bolts? It gives you a place to put in action what you have been learning as an engineer. And I also think that we've mostly been highlighting the engineering side, but Kelston is the leader of our business division, and that has seen a huge, huge increase in popularity as students start to come in and say, hey, I really like F1. I want to help out, and they're also very action biased. And so those are the qualities that I really look up to in our team, is the ability to take on responsibility and to not blame, to not point fingers, and to act. They work really hard. The blame is always, Lord is I, right? The very much self-reflection. Okay, how can I get better at this? And so I really think we're in a golden spot right now as a team that we're going to try to maintain that as best as we can, of how do we grow from this? Yes, so-and-so manufacturer was late on their delivery and now we're delayed a little bit, but what can we learn? What are the downsides of what we did? How can we get better without kind of casting the negative qualities on other people? Yeah. And it's not that we're taking on the negative qualities, it's just that we're looking for ways to get better. And I think that allies very well with Christ's gospel, is how can Christ help me get better? How can he help me be better than who I was before?
Yeah.
And so
I love that. I love those specific examples from your team and tying it in with Christ-like principles. That's perfect. Kelston, I'll ask you one more question, and it's about the values at the business school. So I'm going to read the values and then the question pertaining to it. So the values are faith in Christ, integrity in action, respect for all, and excellence. Why do you think these values are important? Does one stand out to you, and do you have an experience with one of these values?
I think in regards to the team, I think one that we do really well and that contributes to a lot of our success is probably respect for all and excellence. Our students especially, from what I've seen, it can be hard working with people.
Yeah.
And we are very privileged to work with some very, very intelligent people who know what they're talking about very deeply. And that can lead to more problems than generated than problems solved. Yeah. And I'd seen stuff like that before, but it always, and I think that's one of BYU's superpowers. I think that's one of, something that really, if leveraged the right way, can make us so powerful is when we can respectfully talk to one another, respectfully agree or disagree, and say, at the end of the day, this isn't going to change our friendship. This isn't going to change our relationship as brothers in Christ or anything else. We're just trying to figure out the best idea. And the beautiful part is when we can say, we agree, we disagree, whatever the case may be, we want to build the best car possible. Let's lay aside our pride and move forward with this idea. And I think that, in my experience in life, that can be the hardest thing to do. And I've seen many individuals in past competition settings that will literally fight tooth and nail for their pride more than for the best product that would really make us a winning team. And so I think to be a part of a team that goes, what, I don't know that, but I'll learn more about it. Or, what, I'll figure that out. Or maybe you have a great point and we're wrong. We'll try that. We'll try something new. Yeah. That's been the most fun for me.
I love that. That's a really good value. Thanks for highlighting that. So the last thing I wanted to ask for both of you, and we'll do it super quick because we're running out of time, is the main question we ask everyone. It's the title of our podcast, Measuring Success. So I wanted to ask each of you, how do you measure success? And that can be kind of oriented towards your personal life or towards the BYU Racing team as well.
A small blurb for the team first, I'd say. Getting the explanation from you before the podcast, measuring success, right? And I thought about, we want to measure based off of the growth of the individual, right? If BYU wins and adds another trophy to its case, that's awesome. We want that to happen. I should no way, insinuate that that's not what I'm trying for. But I think it's more important the individual lives that the team touches. And so really optimizing our metrics for success based off of, how can we set this person up for a good job interview? How can we get them some really awesome skills on their resume? How can we improve their social life with the team? How can we do some fun things together? How can we train them in their engineering skill so that they can be really a top caliber engineer? And the same comments apply to the business side, right? How can we get this business student, this marketing student, some real experience calling up a company and pitching to them our vision? How can we get them some real accolades and skills, experiences on, hey, how do you negotiate a sponsorship deal? That's what we're dealing with on the business side, is what give and take can we have? What calls can we set up? And so for us, measuring success on the team is very much a individual. How do we get, and we're not perfect there, right? We're trying to always recenter back into how do we help each person get better? There's times that we get frustrated and whatnot, but the car's not coming together, this and that and whatever. But really preparing for this show and learning more about the MSR podcast is help remind me that, at the end of the day, we're in it for the student, right? We're in it for helping you grow. And so if we're not doing that, we need to take a step back and reevaluate. I'd say my own personal thoughts on measuring success right relate very heavily to that same vein of growth. How can I not just always improve, right? It's more of how can I, in my life, make sure that I'm putting the most important things first and growing in those directions. I've learned too many times the lesson of, if you put Heavenly Father first, He actually makes your life better than worse. You know? And so He helps you to make better decisions. And so I'm still learning that lesson, but to me, that's where measuring a true success is at the end of whatever endeavor that I'm going on. Am I growing? How is this helping me expand my knowledge in engineering, or expand the depth of my relationships with other people, with BYU, with my wife? And so, yeah, to me, it all centers on growth, how Christ's atonement can help you grow past the person that you used to be. I'm really, really love that tenet of the gospel and of Christ.
Love that. What about you, Kelston?
I would just second that 110%. We are super interested in the lives of students, especially what they grow on to achieve. We want internships. We want to be a pipeline. We want to see happy students. And we really want to be, like Brad mentioned, that corner of the world where they can have a place. I know something, as a high school student, that was something I just didn't feel like I fit in. There's basketball kids and football kids, but I just play video games and like building things. Where's that spot? And so that's really first and foremost is we have those metrics of that are easily tracked. But I love Brad and his example, and what he just said is just, it's very Christ-like and very Christ-centered on that ministering, right? Like, sure, it's great if we can get students going to Tesla or we can get more trophies at BYU, but I think for me and for the team, what success is that feeling of unity that comes when we focus on the relationship with our team members more than on any trophy. Mm-hmm. And as we do that, it's beautiful to see the friendships that come out of it. I can attest it's been super fun getting to know Brad via this experience. When we first met, it was just like, okay, here we go. And as it's grown, our friendship has deepened so much. And those relationships, in my experience, really, it's almost impossible to measure, but those are what changed lives more than anything else. Mm-hmm. It was because of the relationships and the people that took the time to really help me learn and develop my skills in engineering that I chose engineering, because they gave a place for me when I felt like I had none. So I think that's more than anything is our relationships and that kind of Christ-like ministering is number one.
Perfect. I love both those answers. Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about BYU Racing. I learned a lot, which is really, really awesome. I would say the last thing, if somebody wanted to get in contact with you guys about the club, get more info about it, what's the best way to reach you guys?
We are trying to involve as many people as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
So regardless of the major, if you have a drop of interest, just an inkling, I think Alma says a seed of faith, right? If you have a seed of interest in anything racing, we want you aboard. You can follow us on Instagram. Can you give me the handle for that? I don't quite know, but Kelston will look it up really quick. But we have meetings in the engineering building Tuesdays and Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Mm-hmm. And we have an engineering division and we have a business division, our two main modes of operation. And we need as much help as we can get. And so we are all about trying to help more people get more hands-on. The car is going to be awesome, electric powered. It's going to have top speed of 70 miles an hour, really fast acceleration. It's going to accelerate like a Lamborghini, right? Really, really fast. It's a tiny little car. It's basically just you and four wheels, and a big, huge battery and motor. So it's really exciting to be a part of and get to see the driver perform. Our Instagram handle is BYU Racing, all lowercase, no spaces. And so you can follow our happenings on there as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe to our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or SoundCloud so you never miss an episode. Be a friend and tell a friend about measuring success right.
This podcast is a project of the Marriott Student Review at Brigham Young University. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Marriott Student Review or online at marriottstudentreview.org.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect official policy or position of Brigham Young University or The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.